Hello, welcome back to Under the Surface for all my podcast listeners and back to the YouTube for all of you watching. Welcome. Quick little personal update. I'm now at the point in my pregnancy where it's clear that I'm pregnant and I haven't just possibly eaten a big sandwich. So naturally that means that I'm, also at the point in pregnancy where, I don't know, people just feel like they can now comment on my body, which I'll never understand, honestly. But it's fine. It's whatever. I'm going somewhere with this. So last night we were at the grocery store and the total for my purchase was $33.33. So naturally I'm doing my little like angel number dance in the checkout line. And she goes, whoa, careful, like, I don't want you to keep wiggling like that and have the baby right here. I'm like, what? I'm not even halfway through. Like, I'm a very petite person. So when I am pregnant, and this is also my third pregnancy, those of you who have had multiple children know that, like, it's like your body remembers what to do and does it faster the second or third time around. So yes, I definitely have a bigger belly at 19 weeks now than I probably did with my first pregnancy, but I'm nowhere near ready, Anyway, it was funny. We had a good laugh. We were still laughing about it this morning, but that's my personal update. Oh God. Anyway, also fall is in full swing. It's like so beautiful. I live on a mountain now, which, my shores environment is a little like, I've been living by the ocean for the last, I don't know, since 2012. So a while, right? So, however, it is so beautiful out here. We're like on the top of a mountain, and at the bottom of the mountain is this really beautiful river, and there's just like, there's trees absolutely everywhere. So I'm just loving the changing of the seasons right now. Went to the apple orchard yesterday. That was a nice little family time. So yeah, I hope you're enjoying the fall as well if you live in the northern hemisphere in an area where you get to enjoy that. But I know, like, when I was living in Hawaii, as much as I loved living in Hawaii, which I absolutely did, and I miss it almost every day, but one thing about living in Hawaii was that I always missed fall. I missed how the air gets kind of crispy and leaves change, and there are legitimate pumpkin patches and apple orchards and like all these fun fall things to do and fairs and all that. And there isn't, like, none of that really exists in Hawaii. So I am grateful for the experience of fall currently. Hope you are too. Anyway, I didn't come on here to just chit chat with you about the weather. I came to share some fun things. So I just spent the last week, I went into full blown manifestor urge mode. I've been wanting to create more resources, especially for my students. I have a cohort of my certification that is graduating this month, in October. And so, looking ahead to okay, now that you have all these foundations, how are we actually going to be implementing all of this into the business, into your work with clients, right? So, I've been creating all these resources, and one of the resources that I started creating, I was like, no, everyone needs this. So, yeah, I feel really inspired to share that with you later on in this episode and what that is. But inspired by this new fun guide that I just made is this episode. And so I want to start actually by sharing the story of how I actually started using human design. I found it, oh my gosh, I think it was 2018. Yeah, I think it was late 2018. So almost 7 years ago, I found human design. And at the time, so I had been doing wellness, fitness coaching for a while. And at that point, I was working with, I had broken off on my own to start Crystal Woods LLC, my business. And I made this my first online course. It was called Fully Aligned. Some of you are in there. You're my OGs. And I offered this group, this small group, like a VIP experience. So it was like the course was self-paced, but you could upgrade and then have a call with me each week as you move through the course. So I did that. 2 people signed up. Woohoo. That was amazing. And Kim and Beverly, I'm just going to shout you out. I won't ever forget that. It was like such a great experience, but that's when I found human design, was like right after that started. And so I'm like learning about human design. It's absolutely blowing my mind. I learned that I'm a manifester, which totally shocked me because I genuinely thought when I first started hearing about human design that I was a projector, which totally makes sense because my mom's a projector, conditioning, you know. So I learned I'm a manifester. It's blowing my mind. And so many things started to make sense, because when I was in fitness coaching, there were a lot of patterns that I would see over and over and over again. I have like pretty astute pattern recognition. I have gate 4, I have probability perspective in my human design. Like I have all these aspects of my human design that help with pattern recognition. I was recognizing a lot of patterns when I was in this like fitness coaching world, right? So, okay, I'd like to give you one example. You know, I would run these groups where we'd have a specific challenge. Like I remember once I did like detox your life, and it was this specific challenge where like every week we were focusing on a different area of your life. And all along in the background, like during those 4 weeks, you're doing at least one workout and you're watching what you eat. You're watching your nutrition. I gave like whatever, without going into like full detail, you get it. So what I noticed was like, I would have these women join for, you know, myriad reasons. A lot of those reasons were common, but like they would start with all of this excitement, all of this momentum and motivation, and they would be like super into it, yay, woohoo, and then like disappear. And I'm like, what is going on here? So long story short, I started learning about human design, and it was blowing my mind for me, of course, yes. But I was also recognizing, like, as I was reading about, you know, undefined centers and the types, I'm like, oh my God, so many of these patterns that I had seen as a coach were becoming clear as to like what's under the surface of these patterns, right? Like, why are they there? Like, what, you know, why are people struggling with these patterns so much? Whereas for me, like if I'm committing to a 4-week group from a place of like, from a really aligned place, you know, not committing for any other reason other than like I really wanted to, I would just like, I'm like, okay, I decided, and then I would just like do it, you know? So like half the time when I was coaching, I wanted to be like, just do it. And I'm learning about the Undefined Heart Center, right? I remember learning about the Undefined Heart Center and being like, holy smokes. Of course, like I have a defined heart and most people don't. I think it's like 30% of the population allegedly has a defined heart and everybody else doesn't. So it's like this, you know, you're lacking with an undefined heart center. You don't have this consistent, reliable sense of self-worth, motivation, and commitment. And so when you're around certain people or in certain environments, you can feel like an amplification of this. Like to give you one example, you know, when my clients are meeting with me, they feel an amplified sense of self-worth and motivation and commitment. But then if they don't see me for a couple of weeks, it kind of like dwindles down. Or like another example is Tony Robbins and his events. You go to those events, that is like amplified, right? And then you get home and you're like, meh, right? So it became clear to me like, oh, okay, so what do these people need, right? What do people with an undefined heart center need? Why does this pattern exist? Is there a way to transcend this pattern, right? It helped me look at this problem or challenge in a completely different way and from a completely different perspective. And I immediately started applying that, right? I immediately started applying that, by first of all, doing daily check ins, by reaching out like personally, adding a personal touch. Like people with undefined heart centers need support and accountability. They also need to be clear on their reason for committing beyond like surface level and external pressure, right? Like the people with undefined hearts who are committing to something because they feel this external pressure to prove something, it's not likely going to stick, right? So can we get to like some deeper sort of reason why they're committing to this? Anyway, I didn't mean to go off on this whole tangent, but like it just started blowing my mind. I started sharing what I was learning immediately with my small group peeps, and it was blowing their minds too. Fun fact, by the way, like this small group, my VIPs, there were 2 of them and me. I'm like, sharing with them everything I'm learning about human design. I go and run their charts. Guess what? They're both emotional manifestors like me, which was so cool because, I'm learning and I'm sharing what I learn, and they're like, oh my gosh, they're feeling so seen. They're feeling so validated. That was like really just like step 1 of me being like, wow, this is really powerful, not just for my own self-awareness, but for the way that I'm actually showing up and serving my clients, right? So of course, like this has evolved over time, and like my work has evolved over time. I saw the same thing when I started coaching and guiding people in business. I had like built my business, seen some success, gained some momentum, and like people wanted to like get some help with their own. And I'm like, sure, yeah. And again, I started seeing a lot of these patterns of like people feeling the pressure to do things a certain way, to listen to certain people who, were building a business that looked fun and shiny to them. And it was like realizing that, okay, well, hello, like this, you trying to build in this way, you keep meeting resistance because like you're not designed like that person. So you're comparing it's apples to oranges. You can't compare yourself to that person. Like they are designed completely differently, right? And so being able to tailor the entire coaching experience to someone's specific design was mind-blowing, because not only did it like cut so much time, like because I could show up and without me having to like do all of these deep dives and figure out these underlying motivations and conditioned patterns and whatever over several sessions, it's like I've got it all. It's in a map in front of my face when I run their human design chart. And of course everyone has their own individual experiences, but it is a map. So it would like cut out, I think, like so much time on the front end of just like getting to those deeper layers of a person, and also establishing like a really supportive relationship, because right off the bat I can see them, I can validate their experience in ways that has never been done before for them. So it immediately creates like this trust, this safe relationship. And those of you who are in this work, I assume if you're listening to this, you are. If you're coaches, consultants, therapists, nutritionists, whatever, it's like if you don't have that trust and safety in these intimate spaces with your clients, like you're not going to be able to get them as powerful results. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, obviously, like all of this was sort of like the foundation for what would become my certification program, Embodied by Design, where I was just like, and also here's a funny thing. So like when I had the vision for Embodied by Design, which was like probably 5 years ago now. Yeah. It was like, I think it was 2020. It might have been 2021, but I think it was actually 5 years ago around this time. I had the vision, the idea for Embodied by Design. And I was just, because I was like, okay, like anyone who works with people, especially in an intimate way, needs to know human design. They need, like, we have to start, customizing and personalizing these spaces for our clients. We can't just give everybody cookie cutter strategies. We can't just talk to everybody the same, I know for me as a manifester, like you say something to me and a generator next to me, they're going to respond positively and I'm immediately going to be like push back, So it's like understanding those subtle nuances, the energetics, understanding how to meet someone where they are as they were designed. I was like, this is what we all need. And at the time, I was working with my first private business coach, Nellie Ann, and she's awesome. Like, she taught me so much. However, she is a generator. So when I told her this idea, she was like, I don't know. Like, I think people are just going to want this for themselves. And of course, like, she's a generator. So she's designed, like, generators want to know what lights them up. Generators want to know themselves, because when they know themselves and they're in their bodies, they can follow their yes and honor their no. And that's their whole strategy for life. Manifestors, not so much. Manifestors, we not want to know our impact, right? So of course my vision was like, okay, I want people to know this. So for their work with their clients, for themselves, yes, and their own business. But like ultimately we all need to be working with this system with clients. So anywho, long-winded way of getting to this point of like, yes, I now have this certification program that I take people through that's months long and very deep and like provides a really solid foundation, blah, blah, blah. Could go on all day about EBD, but I'm like, okay, well, let's give people a tool. Maybe you're not quite like, maybe you don't even want to go through a full training, or maybe you don't feel like you're ready, or maybe you're just like, okay, where do I start? How do I actually make this actionable? How can I start implementing this into my work with my clients today without feeling like I need to know absolutely everything there is to know? Because truthfully, you don't. You really don't. Like I said, I started using this immediately. I did not wait, and I'm a 1-3. Like, I certainly have some imposter syndrome, but like, I couldn't not, So I made this guide, and I'm here to talk about this, to give you some ideas to get your wheels turning, to give you some actionable ways to like breathe new life into your business, into your work with clients. I also know, just like as a side note, like a lot of us who maybe have been at this for a little while are feeling this sort of like stale energy, right? In the business and in our work with clients, and things are just like changing at such a rapid pace. A lot of people we need to like breathe some new life into the space, right? And so my intention for what I'm about to share with you and teach you is for you to be able to breathe new life into your business, into the ways that you work with clients or structure your offers or courses, in a way that helps your clients and students feel more seen and validated, and therefore get them better results, foster a deeper relationship with you and your work, and of course, what happens as a result of all that, right? They get better results. They want to talk about those results. They want to come back to you. They want to share, you and your work with other people. So this is like the ripple effect right? Of getting your clients and your students really awesome results. So I want to give you some really easy, like, take action today moves that you can make to do this in your own business. I'm looking at my notes here and I'm like, well, none of that was in my notes, but you know, when it flows, it flows. I've got the Freak to Genius channel. Okay, so first thing you can do is revamp your onboarding. Okay, so one easy way to do this is to simply ask for your potential clients or your new clients' birth information at the time that they either apply to work with you or start working with you. I take this information immediately when someone applies to work with me. There are a couple of reasons for this. One, if I am going, typically, if this is someone that I don't know yet who is applying to work with me in an intimate capacity, whether that be one-on-one, small group, or in-person retreat, I want this information because I want to get a good idea of what I'm working with, right? And then we're going to hop on a conversation. We're going to have a conversation. I don't take on new clients without talking to them first. So when I have this conversation with them, I already have a pretty good idea of who they are and, you know, what their underlying motivations and goals might be and what some inherent challenges and conditioned patterns they might be working with or working through. And really, like, it allows me to listen to them through a different lens, right? Another reason why this is helpful is the sale. I know how to have a sales conversation depending on someone's design. So, like, right off the bat, if someone has emotional authority, I am not looking for an answer on that call. I know that there is like usually a 50-50 chance that if I'm pushing for an answer on that call, even if I'm not pushing for it, sometimes I'm on a call with someone who wants to work with me. They have emotional authority, and in the moment on the call, they are like all about it. They're like, where do I sign? Tell me how to pay you. And I now am like, okay, amazing. You know, I totally want to work with you, you know, but like, I'll send you everything tomorrow. Just because I don't want them to commit at the height of their emotional wave. I want them to be emotionally clear, right? But on the flip side of that coin, if they have sacral authority, first of all, I am asking questions in a different way. I'm paying attention to their body language, and I'm most likely getting an answer right then and there. And so the way that I have a conversation, just even before we're even working together, is tailored to their design. So one really powerful thing that you can do immediately, like right now after you listen to this, is go and implement this question into your intake form. Would you like me to incorporate human design into our work together? If so, please drop your birth, date, time, and place below. Okay, and then you can run their chart. There's a chart generator on my website. It's in the guide as well. So if you end up loving this episode and you want to grab the full guide, it's called the Human Design Advantage. How to do this, my example for how I do this, the tools that I use, the links, all of that stuff is in the guide, so you can literally implement this into your business today with tips on how to actually tailor your conversation depending on their type and their authority. So super fun, super helpful, and honestly, like, people just love that shit anyway, you know, and they feel seen. Which brings me to my next point: upgrade the way that you communicate. So, you know, this applies for any kind of checkpoint with your client. So, like, once you know their design, like, say for instance that they have an undefined heart. Here's a very tangible example of how I do this. When I have clients who have an undefined heart, I am most likely going to offer that we have a check-in weekly, at the very least bi-weekly. Whereas when I have someone with a defined heart and emotional authority, for instance, I'm like, we could do monthly. That's fine. Or we could do bi-weekly, whatever. It's like, I know that they are less likely to need that next level of accountability like an undefined heart likely does, right? Um, Also, looking at their type, again, the way that I'm going to word something for a manifester, like if you say to them, if you ask these direct questions of a manifester, you ask them about their process, you voice your doubts about their vision, like none of these things are going to get you anywhere. It's going to make the manifester shut down immediately. So tailoring how you speak to the manifester and creating a space for them to take the initiative is so much more important, you know? Or say, you know, it's like a group dynamic. Just know immediately that if you have an emotional manifester in there, like you need to give them freedom to show up when they're in the mood. Like you just do. Another way that I work this in is when I do my small group retreats. Those of you who have been around for a while, you know, last year and the year before, I was doing my work weekend retreats. Each of those retreats, even though they had a very similar structure each time, every single one was completely different because of the different designs that were there. One of the retreats was like a lot of emotional manifestors. And that one, there was so much more freedom as far as like, come to what you want, leave what you don't. You know, there was less structure in the schedule, like things like that you can really tailor pretty much any experience to. And you can do this in courses as well. Like if you're already at the point where you're scaling your business and you're like, okay, how do I optimize my course in order to meet my students where they are, as far as like they're different types of learners. They're, you know, they make decisions different ways. They need different support. There are ways that you can like refine your course without completely changing it, without, you know, throwing away the whole curriculum and creating a whole new one. There are ways that you, and they're all in the guide, by the way, shameless plug. They're all in the Human Design Advantage guide that I made. All of these actionable ideas for you to add these next level checkpoints and customizations in order to meet learners of all different designs where they are. Yeah, let's go to the next one. Okay, so we talked about rethinking your onboarding. So like your entire onboarding process can be really like tailored to someone's design, okay? Especially if we're talking about like one-on-one, you know, like I have a standard onboarding flow for all of my private clients, but I customize that flow depending on their design. You know, I don't take a lot of one-on-one clients, and so I'm able to do this, you know? And it makes a huge difference. And then upgrading the way you communicate in sales conversations, during your sessions, and also the way that you communicate like in, you know, group settings as well as in-person retreats, things like that. And then lastly, turning insights into structure. So building your containers and curriculum around their design. So I kind of already started talking about this, but this is what can like really help you to retain people. Like when you know that 70% of the population has inconsistent motivation and commitment and like self-esteem and feels pressure to prove themselves, it's like you can add things into your course for added support, added accountability. When you know that, you know, the other 30% of the population has that defined heart and thrives on, you know, a little bit of healthy competition, you know, that's where you can incorporate some optional gamification, leaderboards, points, things like that. When you know, like, when you know how different people learn and why, you can add in these different layers that can help them to not just get better results, but understand themselves more. Like another helpful thing, another example is, and I have done this for people, and I've also helped like consult people on this, incorporating, a short know your design module in your course right off the bat, so that you're empowering them to customize their experience. So like, helping them understand, like, okay, first of all, run your chart. Now it's like, here's what you're looking at. This is your type. So if you're this, if you're a generator, you want to make sure you're checking in with your body before you're making decisions. You want to, there are checkpoints along the way inside the course that you can give them as well. Or if you are, if you have emotional authority, it's like, take the information, process it, and then come to the Q&A next week. Like, process that through your wave, come and ask your questions. There are all these different ways that you can also not just like talk at your people and feel like you have to teach them about human design, but you can give them sort of this high level overview and give them ways to empower themselves to customize their own experience of your course. I have a lot of different, like, really awesome suggestions for this in the guide. Just download the guide. It's really good. So I feel like I could go on and on about this. There are so many different ways. And I find that a lot of times when people start learning about human design, it's like really fun for a minute. You're just like, okay, cool. It's like you get that hit of validation and permission. My friend Jill, she's also a manifestor. She calls it like a power up, in like Mario, where you get like this power up. She's like, it feels like that. You get this power up after looking at your chart and starting to understand it, where you're just like, oh, damn, yeah, this is who I am, right? And it gives you this extra boost of like power, confidence to do things your own way. It's awesome. However, I know that a lot of people get stuck after that because they're like, okay, well, how do I actually like use this in my business? How do I actually implement this into my work with clients? Like, what do I actually do? I don't know why I just had this visual of, stick with my squirrel brain, but did you ever watch Anchorman? And he's like in front of the camera and he's like, what do I do with my hands? I think it's Anchorman. He's like so awkward. He's like, what do I do with my hands? That's what I imagine sometimes. It's like people who like are loving human design for themselves. It's like, what do I actually like do now? It's cool to know, but what do I do? So there are so many different ways that you can do this. And it's like, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a human design coach or reader or whatever, like I am, like you can just do your thing. Say you're an energy worker or a nutritionist or a fitness coach or a business consultant or a somatic coach, like whatever your thing is, whatever your unique magic is, there are ways to take what you learn about human design and actually implement what you learn into how you show up for your clients and students, how you structure your different processes, like your onboarding, like your offers, like your entire business, depending on your design, and like using human design, incorporating human design so that you can really meet people where they are and give a customized experience. It's like, that's the stuff that, AI is not doing. This is like the personal touch that people are really craving right now in a world where everything is like so non-human, right? And that's where we're going. It's like the real novelty is going to be actual human connection, actual customization and personalization. Because it's like, yeah, AI can spit out for you like a full-blown nutrition plan based on whatever factors you want to feed it, and it looks great and it's solid. But if you don't have the support, the accountability, and like the personalized touch, it may not do anything for you. You know, it might, but it may not. And like this, my work is really for the people who want that connection. They want that personal touch. They want that depth that your chat bot cannot give. You know what I'm saying? You smell what I'm stepping in? So anywho, I feel complete. I hope this just like got your wheels turning as to different, quite frankly, super easy ways that you can start doing this today. But if you want a more guided approach, definitely download the guide. So the guide is completely free when you sign up for the EBD waitlist. So EBD is Embodied by Design. That's my signature program. That's my baby. It is a really freaking awesome program. So, but once you join, if you join the waitlist, you get this 23-page guide called the Human Design Advantage for free. And it is super practical, super actionable. There are ways for you to start incorporating this into your one-on-one work, your small group work, and your scalable offers and courses as well, with all the tools that I personally use and that my students use. It's like literally everything that you need to start doing this right now. So I will drop the link in the show notes. If you have questions, go ahead and shoot me a DM on Instagram. If you loved this episode, also please shoot me a DM on Instagram. It's super awesome. Also share. That's like really helpful. I love when you share the episodes. It helps other people access this work. But yeah, what is it? Rate, subscribe, share. Rate, subscribe, share. That is how you can support me and this work. Otherwise, I hope that you loved it. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your week and that you're enjoying fall. And I will see you soon.